Hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode number 78 of the WP Café show. I'm your host, Mark Wilkinson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Keith Devon. And in this episode, we're going to be chatting about support and navigating our way through product support and things like that. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. And if you've got anything else that you would like to discuss, any questions that you would like to ask, as always, we'd love you to get involved in the comments, whether you're watching along live on YouTube or perhaps even on Twitter. Then let us know in the comments. And also let us know who you are, where you are, and where you're watching from. It's nice to see some familiar faces. Yeah. How was your week, Keith? You're looking very formal there, by the way. I just wondered, that's going on today.
It's not often you see me with a collar on. So I'm off to an event tonight. So for my wife's birthday, we are going to a silent disco in Canterbury Cathedral, of all places, which I thought was a very, very strange venue. Like, it's going to be beautiful and look absolutely spectacular, but a kind of party in England's highest church in Christianity seems a little bit odd. And in fact, it's so odd that it made the national news yesterday. So people were talking about it on TV shows yesterday. There you go. So there could even be a little protest outside as we're going in. So it should add to the atmosphere in one way or another. But yeah, should be fun. So we're just going to go and have a little boogie. It's like 90s music. So you've got I think there's going to be 3 channels on the headphones. So there's going to be like indie stuff, poppy stuff, and dancey stuff. So you can kind of choose what you're listening to, and everyone's should be fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. So how about you? How's your week been?
Usual, really. Just cracking on with stuff. Kind of outside of this WordPressy world, I finished my home networking, which has been nice. I've actually really enjoyed it. From going from really frustrated to when you finish the project and it all works, it's like, wow. I'm quite good at this stuff. So yeah, it's been good. So I've got everything hooked up, got some Ethernet cables running around, managed to crimp them all in, you do with the sockets and do the little plugs on the end. That was quite cool. So everything's hooked up there. I've just got a little bit of tidying up to do down in my office, down in my right-hand side here. You can't see it off camera, but it's a bit of a bird's nest in the corner, so I need to do that. Which I attempted to do last night, and my son was moaning at me. He's like, "Oh, when's the internet going to be on, Dad? I've got this, I don't know, Fortnite tournament or something. I don't know what it is at 6 o'clock." And I was like, "It's fine. It'll be back on. We've just got 1 or 2 jobs to do." So I finished in his room, and then I came down here, and I thought, I'll just tidy up these cables here. And I'm just not thinking. I just unplugged it. It's like, so he's like, "Dad, the internet's gone off."
Oh no. Yeah.
So I was like, "Quick, plug that back in," and everything's back to normal. So
yeah, good.
So it was good fun.
Cool.
Anyway, on to today's show. Thank you for joining us, Tony, Kieran, Paul, and Elliot. Thank you very much. If you haven't said hello in the chat, please do so. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Please like this video as well. It always helps us out. So today we are going to be talking about support. So that the title of this video was, and I can't remember it now, I'm going to have to load it to be able to find the title of this video, Navigating the Fine Line of Free Customer Support. So we've had obviously we've got our products and we do support for those. And we've had a number of instances recently where we're getting support requests come through, and both Keith and I are in the, well, that's not really support. That's more you want to sort of push our product a little bit further than what it should probably be doing outside the box. And then you're sort of in this period where you're torn, aren't you? Because you're like, do you know what? That's probably only going to take 20 minutes, to just hook in a button or, hide something with CSS or something like that. So I think the question is, where do you draw the line on what you're happy to do as support and what you're not happy to do as support? And I think we've got the 2 products. We've got our WordPress product, which is our job board service, and service is the key word there, I think. And we've got Job Relay, which is more of it does this, pretty much. That's all it does. And I think Job Relay is much more easier to define what is and what is not Job Relay, whereas WordPress being a service is a bit more difficult. How do you actually define what the client gets? And therefore, sometimes you can have sympathy with them when they request something that's not included in what they actually get.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Keith? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, even though you're right about the difference between Job Relay and WordPress in the sense that Job Relay has a very tightly defined scope, we still get this for Job Relay. Yeah. Like it's not like it's just plain sailing and people just totally get it. Like for example, the other day we're installing Job Relay. I offered the WordPress product. So just as a quick refresher, Job Relay is the data integration. So it is purely concerned with getting job data from one bit of software into your WordPress site, and we save it wherever you want that job data saved. Then our WordPress product is if you want us to build your WordPress job board for you. So that's the kind of difference. So someone buying Job Relay, I asked them what kind of job system they had on the website. I offered WordPress. They didn't take it. And I said, right, well, you're going to have to do it yourself. I recommend something like WP Job Manager. And then there's a series of emails of this guy asking me how to get WP Job Manager set up. I was just like, you've bought Job Relay. You didn't buy WordPress. So this is on you. And I hate that feeling. I hate the feeling of not being helpful, especially when you know you've got the expertise, you know how to do it, you know how to answer the question, but you know that answering the question or just doing that little thing leads to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then they're asking you to walk them through the whole process of the thing that you offered as a service in the first place.
Yep.
So I kind of didn't really answer your question, but like that's kind of just saying that even within Job Relay, it kind of escalates, and partly because we've got the two products, I think there's a little bit of gray area sometimes.
They're together, aren't they? But I think
but
it's easy with. I know. I think any product will always have people that ask things that's slightly outside of the scope. I'm just saying it's much easier with Job Relay. It seems to have more fixed boundaries. And it defines what it is and what it isn't, whereas WordPress is not quite the same. And I think we've work to do on that, I think, definitely.
Yeah, so I think like there's different things we need to think about. The first is when we're selling the product, when we're selling WordPress, are we being as clear as we can be about the scope of it and what it is and what it isn't? Part of the problem is that we don't really know that yet because it's still a product that's sort of being developed, and sometimes things are easy, sometimes they're not. I'll come to an example of that probably later on. So there's that initial phase. So there's like, or some of our marketing material could probably be improved. Our sales calls potentially could be improved, like talking through some of these limitations that kind of like keep cropping up. So you said something earlier, like we've got a demo job board on the website. We could just point people there and say, look, if what you're looking for isn't on that, let us know, because there's a good chance it's not included in this product and it'll be additional work. So there's that whole side of things, like just trying to make things clearer up front. Stuff will still slip through. We will still get requests for functionality. And then so the next part of the puzzle is how do we respond to those requests? Which things do we just do because, like we said, sometimes they're really quick and easy and they're really obvious to us how to resolve. Which things do we not do? And in that case, how do we push back? In fact, in both cases, how do we push back? Because even if we do the small things, do we do it with a caveat that this was kind of outside of scope, we won't be doing much more of this? But it always just comes back to me. It's just like, I just don't feel like I'm being helpful. I kind of like empathize with the customer. It's like, I just want to add this button. Like, why are you being so awkward? It's like, we're being so awkward because like this is a productized service that we've built to like quickly install and configure, which is why it's the price it is. And we can't just like endlessly customize things for everybody. But yeah, it's really tricky.
But then just to, like you say, I just want to add this button, but like back to my DIY project. So I'm getting some quotes from an electrician to put some sockets where I've put my network switch because I don't have a switch. So at the moment I've just got an extension cable leading under the door, which is a bit rubbish. So if I asked the electrician to come along and said, I want a quote for putting two sockets into here, and he says, that's 200 quid. And then when he gets here, can you just put one over there as well? I'd expect to pay for that.
Yeah.
So why would they not expect to pay for adding the button? So I don't think we should be, what's the word? We shouldn't feel bad about charging them for these things. We should get over that almost and say, if you want something extra, then you're going to have to pay for it. And I think Sam says that here, regardless of the time the job takes, it needs to be chargeable. I think he's right. And that's if you want to do it at all. Lots of plugins like Gravity Forms would ask you to go and find your own developer. And I think that also highlights something we've got to decide. If people want us to do extra work, are we going to be the ones that say, yes, we'll do it? Or do we say, like Sam just said, that's possible with WordPress. Here's some documentation that you can go and use to do it. Go and find a developer to do it. Or are we going to be that developer that they find?
Part of the problem is we don't have that documentation yet.
Yes.
We don't have all of the kind of hooks and filters and the way it's all styled with CSS and stuff. Like all that stuff isn't really well documented. Yeah, but it still comes down to the fact that did they know what they were signing up to in the first place, and how we solve that? Because I don't have anything to go back to. Said that button that you've just asked me to include, isn't part of this product, and there's just it's a very loose scope, and we do say this is a done for you service. We're it's based off WP Job Manager, and we are installing, configuring, styling that plugin plus a suite of other plugins that work well together to create this product. And like all those products have their own features, and so are we giving access to all of those features? I don't know. WP Job Manager does a lot out of the box that we aren't actually using within RecPress as well. So is it fair for the customer to assume that they're going to get those features? I don't know. It's a really tricky one. Maybe we just need to be very, very prescriptive about the features that we support.
I think we need two things. I think I said this earlier today. I think so. On our pricing page, we've got so they pay a monthly or an annual fee for the product for RecPress. And then we do charge a one-off fee at the start of it, and we use that to do the branding and setting up and styling and configuration. So I do think we should have a page that outlines exactly what we do, what we set up. We're setting up the job listings page, we're setting up the single job template, and maybe what that entails, what is going to be output on that page. You're going to get the job title, the description, the metadata, which includes X, Y, and Z. You're going to get the consultant picture output if you wanted to do that sort of thing. And then, like you said, here's an example of that on the demo page. So you can see it in action. You're going to get this, but you're going to get it branded to your brand and, potentially things moved around slightly if necessary. I think that would really help. It would help define what you're going to do for that setup fee and so forth. And then if they come in and say, oh, well, I want a back button or I want a call to action at the bottom of here, well, it's not there. It doesn't. We said that at the start. So I think the very first step, I think that's what we should do. Outline that, and that would help. Just give you that thing to go back to and say, look, when you signed up for this, this is what we agreed you were going to deliver for you.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, they can refer back to it. So I think that would help, definitely.
Yeah, I think Mark, thanks for tuning in, Mark, kind of agrees. He says the sales documentation or the info on the site needs to include text which says what the product includes and what additional support costs. I think that's probably quite important.
Yeah.
So that people aren't, because we're expensive, partly because we don't actually want to be doing that kind of custom work at the minute, because we want to be developing the products. So we do tend to be expensive, and that makes me again feel like I'm kind of is gouging the right term? We've kind of locked someone into a system, and then we're just going to rinse them for all the money they're worth with all these extra charges and fees, which isn't what we're trying to do at all. Like, I don't want any of this additional work. In an ideal world, we'll just set it up and it'll work perfectly for them, and we won't have to charge them extra and extra and extra. That's not something we want to be doing. But it's just, because of the way we value our time in certain ways, it kind of works out like that, and we tend to be expensive, and that again makes me feel a little bit kind of gross about the situation. It's really tricky.
I think the other thing that makes it hard to define a scope is that we're integrating this with different WordPress websites.
Yeah.
Some are using Elementor, some are using Avada, some are using Divi, some are, well, they're not, but some might be using the block editor, some might be using completely custom themes and things. So it's very difficult. What is actually extremely simple in Elementor might be very difficult in something else. So it's very hard to sort of put a definition on, how hard is just doing X, because it all depends not just on our plugin. It depends what you're using in your website and the way in which you're setting up your pages and so forth. So that can be quite tricky as well.
Yeah.
Have we any more comments?
We do. I'm just gonna add a few here. So Sam says, I think this is in response to Mark Howells-Mead's previous comment. He says, but Mark, they're a plugin business, not an agency. They don't do timesheets, quoted jobs, etc. It sounds harsh, but that's just not a service they offer. It is. I don't know if you're saying that that's what we should say, Sam, which is maybe what we should say. But we are a hybrid at the minute. We still do like service kind of based work, project based work. So maybe that's part of the confusion, is that we still feel within ourselves that we are a WordPress development agency, but we've also got some products. So maybe we need to be more clear about the lines there. But I thought that was an interesting point. And then Mark says, the free time you have to assign to support is the main reason I don't publish my own plugins. It's not free. Like, we are charging, like, these aren't free plugins, and we do charge an annual or monthly subscription. So we are getting paid over time to do things, mainly just to keep things working. I think that's the kind of main service that, the subscription provides, to make sure like compatibility issues are fixed, any kind of issues around updates, and like with WP Job Manager changes something, we'll fix our code. If the other plugins change something, we'll fix our code. So I don't kind of see it as support being free. We are getting paid for that, but it's just defining support. Like, is this a genuine feature that should be included in our product that isn't working properly, or is this something outside of scope? But I would very much encourage people to publish their plugins, because that is where the success of Job Relay came from in the first place. It was Mark publishing a plugin that he probably thought no one would ever use, and it turns into a bit of a success story for us years down the line. So I would encourage it, but it is I think I'd probably only encourage it. Mark, you might have a different opinion on this. If you are going to charge for it, it really depends on the plugin, but it's you can potentially get yourself into a whole lot of free support time if you're publishing stuff on the .org repo.
Yeah, I think to take Mark's point, what I meant was free support is out of the scope. Sorry, it's so saying, I've got myself confused now. If you're putting a plugin on .org, I think, I'm saying this, but we've done this, so I don't know why I'm saying it. You need to have a monetization strategy. Now, most of them, it's the freemium option with a pro add-on, isn't it? That's why they do it. Because do you want to be supporting people on there for free? Because people will expect it. I don't know. As it happens, the plugin that I put on there, the free plugin, actually led to a lot of work, because it wasn't really a plug and play thing. You needed some experience of doing it, and I put brief documentation and so on, and obviously people could go and read the plugin and understand what it does. But most people wanted some assistance with it, and they wanted some assistance with styling it and making it look as they wanted it. And that's where the money came from to start with. And then obviously that turned into Job Relay, which is a paid for product. So I think that's the thing I'd say. But you can't offer free for everything.
Yeah.
So you need to have a strategy.
I just want to pick up on a few. So like Craig says here, I believe the context was about Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms are a plugin business, not an agency. So Gravity Forms has been mentioned a few times, and it's actually an example that we use between ourselves quite often. Like, what would Gravity Forms do in this situation? The problem with that is that RecPress is not a plugin in this. It's a service. So
you don't download it and do it yourself. That's
exactly.
But as you do Gravity Forms, you download it, you read the docs, you learn how to use it, and then you go on yourself.
Yeah. So RecPress is a done-for-you service, including installing the plugin, activating the plugin, configuring the plugins, configuring the plugins, styling everything, and managing it going forward, which is not at all what Gravity Forms is. So the comparisons with Gravity Forms, works better with Job Relay for us than it does with RecPress. RecPress is very much still kind of, it's like I think the term is productized service. I think we've said that before. It's more of a productized service than a pure product.
Question for the audience then. I think we've had trouble with this. Can anyone think of any other WordPress productized services that do something like this, where you're buying it's a plugin or a product, but it's not something that you download and do yourself. You probably pay monthly or annually for it, yet someone else comes and does some sort of setup or initial configuration or work for you. Because we can't think of one actually.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because
does anyone do I guess like a done for you WooCommerce, but WooCommerce, that's kind of like the whole website in a way.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if anyone knows of anyone, because it'd be nice to actually go and have a look and like what sort of things do they do for support and things like that. Have they got any of the same sort of documentation we could like get inspiration from or something? So but I can't think of one.
The other thing I'd love the audience to help us with is the wording, how we actually tell a customer that what they're looking for is maybe outside of scope of the product, and offer the kind of solutions without it sounding like we're kind of doing some kind of sleazy upsell, and that we're being unhelpful. I don't really know. I think the way we're trying to do it at the minute is, hey, sorry, that's not included. We can give you a bit of guidance, as in, you can use this hook or this bit of CSS, or, check out the documentation on this page once that's all done. Good luck kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. And I think the other thing is I just need a thicker skin with this stuff. I just need to be like, I need to let it bounce off me a bit more, because it has been tough. Like, has been tough.
Yeah, Craig says my gut feeling is it just needs a tighter scope and an upfront note that if you want something outside of this, we'll charge you X per hour. I think that's dead sensible, really. Yeah, and we will do these things, but potentially, but we need to charge for them, obviously.
Yeah.
Elliot says that's what an agency does. They just aren't transparent about what they use. So I think, are you suggesting that our product is actually not really a product? It's just a service that our agency is doing.
I think he's saying that's what most WordPress agencies do, is they have a collection of bits of software, themes, plugins, etc., that they know how to use, and they install them as a service. Which is kind of true. Our scope is slightly tighter, and it's like within, we're not building the whole website. I think that's the big difference. We're just coming in and handling a part of a WordPress website. We're not getting involved with the overall look and feel. We're not touching the headers and footers. We're trying to just insert our stuff in 2 templates, and then that's us. That kind of done. But that's an interesting point from Elliot. I think a lot of agencies are kind of similar. And then Mark says it's only a sleazy upsell if it's not clear before the sale or agreement what's included. Yep. So I think we've come away from this with a bit of work to do.
We've got to get some scope defined, haven't we, and get some docs written and stuff. I think that's good. So thank you for your help, everybody. That's been really, really useful, actually. We're already on 25 minutes, so I was just
the other thing I just wanted to quickly, briefly mention that kind of sort of amused me in the last couple of days, but also I think it's kind of a bit of a problem in our community. I don't know if this is just a tech thing or if it's just a human thing, but there was a bit of chat about the interactivity API in the last couple of days. Yoast came out and said something along the lines of, I see that there's this new API. Can someone please explain it to me? Because I don't really know what it's for, which is exactly how I feel. Like, I've looked at the documentation, I've even looked at a demo, and I still don't really understand what it's for. So Yoast put this up, and there was loads of replies. This was on X, so there's loads of replies. It's like, oh, it's a wrapper for this thing. Oh, it allows like transactional HTML behaviors. Like, so like what like
in English,
oh, please. It basically, and there was an example, and it was like, oh, if you want to fire an event with, by clicking a button, you just do this thing. I'm like, I know how to fire events in JavaScript by clicking buttons. Like, what is this doing that's new that I couldn't do before, or that's making 10 times easier than it was before? And like, I feel that people, I think it probably is a techie thing because we're kind of techie nerds, and we like kind of the details of how stuff works rather than the why. Like, why are we doing stuff at all? And I'm not saying that this interactivity API isn't going to be phenomenally useful. It may well be, and I kind of hope it is. But I was just left thinking, after reading all those responses, I still don't know what it's for. Like, and I know that my friend Nick was the same. He was actually in the comments just being like, still don't understand. And Yoast, a few times, he was replying to the replies saying, I'm stupider than this. I still don't get it, So yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting kind of little case study of how, I don't know what the right word is. It's not vision. It's just like people being able to explain things, the why behind things, to a layman or to kind of low-level developers like me. I think that's missing.
Yeah, if you're going to build something, there's no point building it if you can't explain to someone what to do with it and why it's there, because they won't use it, obviously. Yeah, and I still don't know what it is, really, to be honest. Presumably, it allows you to do some sort of interactivity. With what? I'm not entirely sure. We're not entirely sure.
Yeah. I don't know if that's tongue-in-cheek, Elliot. So Elliot says, it's just a React virtual DOM for WordPress.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means, or why I would want that. So I don't understand it. I mean, I don't really kind of necessarily feel like I need to learn it right now. I appreciate all the comments. I still don't know why we need it. Basically, I think Mark says, where is it? Lots. Here we go. The interactive. I can't even say it. Interactivity API is for developers who don't know how to do it and who want to work on an existing basis within a team. Don't know how to do what? What are they trying to do that they don't know? And then he says, it doesn't make sense if you know how to write your own code, but it still feels very like, if you know how to write your own code. Yeah, I don't know. Who's it for then? If it's not for developers, I'm absolutely confused. I think it's trying to standardize some stuff that we tend to do with JavaScript. I think that's all I'll say. But
essentially, I've just got Remkus's latest WordPress newsletter in my inbox, and it says interactivity API. So if you signed up to Remkus's newsletter, maybe you'll be able to read that and understand what it is. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, that's
fingers crossed
for another day. Once we actually understand it and maybe use it, we'll report back and see if we can also do a terrible job of explaining what it is and why you might want to use it. But,
oh dear. Anyway, right. I think we better wrap it up. We've done nearly half an hour, which is good. I think we'll be back next week, won't we? Don't think there's anything in the calendar that says we're not, so it'll be good. Thank you, as always, for joining us for episode 78. And again, give us a like if you can. That'd be great. Other than that, we will see you all next week, same time, same place.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye.